But the Israelites were unfaithful in regard to the devoted things. Achan, son of Carmi, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took some of them. So the Lord's anger burned against Israel. Now Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is near Beth Aven, to the east of Bethel, and told them, "Go up and spy out the region." So the men went up and spied out Ai. When they returned to Joshua, they said, "Not all the army will have to go up against Ai. Send 2,000 or 3,000 men to take it, and do not weary the whole army, for only a few people live there." So about 3,000 men went up, but they were routed by the men of Ai, who killed about 36 of them. They chased the Israelites from the city gate as far as the stone quarries and struck them down on the slopes. At this, the heart of the people melted in fear and became like water. Then Joshua tore his clothes and fell face down to the ground before the ark of the Lord, remaining there till evening. The elders of Israel did the same and sprinkled dust on their heads. And Joshua said, "Alas, sovereign Lord, why did you ever bring this people across the Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? If only we had been content to stay on the other side of the Jordan. Pardon your servant, Lord. What can I say now that Israel has been routed by its enemies? The Canaanites and the other people of the country will hear about this, and they will surround us and wipe out our name from the earth. What then will you do for your own great name?" The Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up. What are you doing down on your face? Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant which I commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen. They have lied. They have put them with their own possessions. That is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. They turned their backs and ran because they have been made liable to destruction. I will not be with you anymore unless you destroy whatever among you is devoted to destruction. Go, consecrate the people. Tell them, consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. There are devoted things among you, Israel. You cannot stand against your enemies until you remove them. In the morning, present them yourselves tribe by tribe, and the tribe the Lord chooses shall come forward clan by clan, and the clan the Lord chooses shall come forward family by family, and the family the Lord chooses shall come forth man by man. Whoever is caught with the devoted things shall be destroyed by fire, along with all that belongs to him. He has violated the covenant of the Lord and has done an outrageous thing in Israel. Early in the next morning, Joshua had Israel come forward by tribes, and Judah was chosen. The clans of Judah came forward, and the Zerahites were chosen. He had the clan of the Zerahites come forward by families, and Zimri was chosen. Joshua had his family come forward, man by man, and Achan, son of Carmi, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, was chosen. Then Joshua said to Achan, "My son, give glory to the Lord, the God of Israel, and honor him. Tell me what you have done, and do not hide it from me." Achan replied, "It is true. I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel. This is what I have done. When I saw in the plunder a beautiful robe from Babylonia, 200 shekels of silver and a bar of gold, weighing 50 shekels, I coveted them and took them. They are hidden in the ground inside my tent with the silver underneath." So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran to the tent, and there it was, hidden in his tent, with the silver underneath. They took the things from the tent, brought them to Joshua and all the Israelites, and spread them out before the Lord. Then Joshua, together with all Israel, took Achan, son of Zerah, the silver, the robe, the gold bar, his sons and daughters, his cattle, donkeys, and sheep, his tent, and all that he had, to the valley of Achor. Joshua said, "Why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today." Then all Israel stoned him, and after they had stoned the rest, they burned them. Over Achan they heaped up a large pile of rocks, which remains to this day. Then the Lord turned from his fierce anger. Therefore, that place has been called the Valley of Achor ever since. Let me tell you about a boy named Edmund Pevensey. Hear me again, talking about Chronicles of Narnia. One of the 4 children, Edmund was, who entered Narnia in C.S. Lewis's book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. If you don't know, this book is about 4 kids, 2 brothers and 2 sisters, Peter, Susanna, Lucy, and Edmund. These 4 kids accidentally enter a new world, or a realm, called Narnia. Its true king is Aslan, the great lion. But right now, it has a queen ruling over it, the White Witch. And she rules it through her magic, making the land always winter but never Christmas. Lucy is the youngest, and she is the first of the 4th to enter Narnia. But Edmund goes right after her. Edmund's first encounter is not with Aslan or the Faun, but it is with the White Witch. He does not know who she really is. He does not know there is a true king there. And in their encounter, she offers him Turkish delight, his favorite treat, and makes him feel important, chosen, and special. The White Witch promises him power and honor. If he will bring his brothers and sisters to her, she says she will make him a prince. And Edmund believes her, and he likes the idea. Soon afterward, all 4 children arrive in Narnia, and Lucy tells them the truth. The White Witch is cruel and wicked, and the true king is Aslan. For 100 years, she has held Narnia under her icy grip, turning it into a land where it's always winter and never Christmas. Yet, Edmund says nothing about his meeting with her. He hides it. And why? Because he loves the promise from the White Witch more than the truth. He wants the crown more than he wants his family. He wants what the witch offers more than he wants what is right. When the opportunity comes, Edmund slips away from his siblings and makes his way to the witch's castle. But when he arrives, he discovers a painful reality. The witch never intended to honor her promises. She had deceived him from the beginning. The rewards she offered were bait on a hook. Instead of becoming a prince, Edmund becomes a prisoner. Instead of receiving a crown, he receives chains. He is a traitor now. The White Witch says it plainly when she confronts Aslan later in the book. She says that every traitor belongs to her. Edmund betrayed his brother. He betrayed his sisters. He betrayed Narnia, and he betrayed Aslan. And according to the deep magic from before the dawn of time, the sentence for every traitor in Narnia is death upon the stone table. A few chapters later, after the other children arrive at Aslan's camp because they need help from Aslan to rescue his brother, Aslan sends a rescue party to bring Edmund back. After all, it was their brother. But even after he is rescued, a problem remains. Edmund is still guilty. He still deserves the sentence. He cannot undo his treason. He cannot pay his debt. He stands condemned under a law he has broken. And now, why mention Edmund today? Because Edmund is just like Achan that we read here in Joshua 7. Both Achan and Edmund sinned with open eyes. Both saw what glittered and reached for it. Both believed the lie that disobedience would bring something better than obedience. Both hid the truth. Both betrayed those around them. And both discovered that sin's promises are empty. What appeared sweet became bitter. What appeared profitable became deadly. If we are honest, Achan is not only Edmund, Achan is us. Like Edmund, we have listened to false promises. Like Achan, we have desired what God has forbidden. Like both of them, we have traded the glory of obedience for the fleeting pleasures of sin. We have all committed treason against our rightful king. And as we come to Joshua 7, we are not merely reading the story of a man who lived 10,000 years ago. We are looking into a mirror here. We are seeing the deceitfulness of sin, the seriousness of God's holiness, and the devastating consequences of hidden rebellion. On the last chapter, chapter 6, after the Israelites destroyed Jericho, God asked them to take all the treasures and devote those things to the Lord. If you look at chapter 6, verse 18, says, "But keep away from the devoted things, so that you will not bring about your own destruction by taking any of them. Otherwise, you will make the camp of Israel liable to destruction and bring trouble on it." Verse 24, "Then they burned the whole city and everything in it, but they put the silver and gold and the articles of bronze and iron into the treasury of the Lord's house." God had already spoken. But Achan viewed his sin the way we often view ours. Not as rebellion against the holy God, but as something small, manageable, or harmless. And this morning I want us to see two sides of God's glorious character. First, that God is just. He is holy. He is righteous and unwilling to tolerate sin. The second is that God is also the justifier. The God who, through Christ, welcomes sinners into His presence without compromising His holiness. The just and the justifier. So now let's talk about God being a just God. What happens next in the text is that when Joshua plans to take the city of Ai, a similarly small city according to his spies, he sent only 3,000 men to the battle to conquer that city. And what happened is that 36 of them died and that they came back running in fear afterwards. And we, the readers, we know what happened already, the sin of Achan. But Joshua did not know what happened. And the question in his mind was, how can we just defeat the biggest, most secure city of all, Jericho, and now we could not defeat that little city of Ai? Joshua then falls before the Lord and prays a prayer very similar to the one that Moses prayed after Israel was worshiping the golden calf when he came down from Mount Sinai. Confused by Israel's defeat, Joshua asks why God allowed this to happen and wonders how Israel can fulfill God's promises if they cannot even defeat a small city like Ai. Above all, in his prayer, he's concerned for God's glory and his reputation among the nations. What will the people and the cities around us think of us or think of you, Lord? And after this prayer, the Lord answers Joshua. Verse 11 and 12 says, "Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant, which I commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen. They have lied. They have put them with their own possessions. That is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. They turned their backs and ran because they have been made liable to destruction." We have seen God act against other peoples, against Egypt, and recently against Jericho. He did that in order to fulfill his promises. God empowers his people to go and to conquer the whole land. That's what half of the book of Joshua is about. Conquering cities and owning their promised land. But here, God stops. Here, God waits. It becomes something, because something serious is happening in the middle of his people. Verse 12 says it all. The reason why they were unable to win against Ai, the answer to Joshua's prayer, is this. Verse 12, the end of verse 12. I will not be with you anymore unless you destroy whatever among you is devoted to destruction. Our God is a just God. And that means that he will not allow sin in the middle of the camp. Because sin and God's holiness do not match. Ever. The word holiness means separation. God is just, he's holy, and sin will not be part of him or anything related to him. But there lies the problem for all of us here. We are sinners. We sin every day. We sin with our thoughts, our mouth, and what we do, remember? Romans 3:10 says, none is righteous, not no one. No one understands, no one seeks for God, all have turned aside. Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Romans 5:12, therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death is spread to all men because all sinned. Ecclesiastes 7:20, surely there is not a righteous man on earth who does good and never sins. There is no such man. And look at what James says as well about sin. James 1:14. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it has conceived birth, to sin. That's exactly what Achan did. He looked at things that were forbidden and cursed, devoted to destruction, and he wanted them. And he took them. And before we move on, we need to feel the weight of this. This is not just Achan's story, it's our story as well. James is not describing a rare kind of sinner. He's describing the human heart. We crave for sin. The same pattern of desire, deception, and disobedience is found in all of us. And that is why the holiness of God matters so much here. The smaller our view of God's holiness becomes, the smaller our view of God's holiness becomes, the smaller our view of sin becomes. But the greater our view of God, the more clearly we see the seriousness of our rebellion. The beauty of this passage is that this same holy God is not silent toward his people. He calls them to return, to be consecrated. And we see the seriousness of this. He wants his people to be made holy again. God gives them a second chance. Let's read verse 14 and 15. It says, in the morning, God is saying here, in the morning, present yourselves tribe by tribe. The tribe the Lord chooses shall come forward, clan by clan. The clan that the Lord chooses shall come forward, family by family. And the family that the Lord chooses shall come forward, man by man. Whoever is caught with the devoted thing shall be destroyed by fire, along with all that belongs to him. He has violated the covenant of the Lord, and he has done an outrageous thing in Israel. God is giving his people a second chance. Through consecration, through holiness, by turning away from our sinful patterns, and by being found faithful before their God. And the next morning, Joshua rises early, and the process began to uncover the one who brought trouble upon Israel. Verse 16 and 18. Early in the morning, Joshua had Israel come forward by tribes, and Judah was chosen. The clans of Judah came forward, and the Zerahites were chosen. He had the clan of the Zerahites come forward by families, and Zimri was chosen. Joshua had his family come forward man by man, and Achan, son of Carmi, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, was chosen. What is actually fascinating here is how the text in Joshua 7 traces the real anatomy of sin through a family lineage. Just look at the progression of these names. Achan is from the tribe of Judah. Judah means praise. His clan is Zerah. That means shining. His grandfather is Zimri, or my gift. His father is Carmi, which means fruitful, or my vineyard. It is a lineage that speaks entirely of blessings, gifts, and incredible promises, and yet it is quietly devolved into Achan, a name that literally means troubler. It also brilliantly illustrates how hidden sin can just quietly work its way through a family of praise and fruitfulness until it eventually produces someone who brings deep, deep trouble. That is the anatomy of sin in 5 names. A lineage that begins in praise and ends in trouble. Our God is a holy and just God, and He will not let sin take His place in our lives. Sin must be removed, but sin must also be confessed and exposed. God's holiness expelled Achan. Nothing hidden survives His presence. The same verdict that fell here is the verdict under which every person in the room stands. The tragedy of sin is precisely that. It takes a lineage of promise and turns it into a valley of trouble. Notice in verse 1 that the text says that the Israelites were unfaithful. Not just one man. God counts the whole nation as one. One man brought destruction upon the entire people. And because of his disobedience, 36 men were killed. And the consequence did not stop there. This sin reached beyond the moment and they extended even into his household. Verse 24-25, then Joshua, together with all Israel, took Achan, son of Zerah, the silver, the robe, the gold bar, his sons and daughters, his cattle, donkeys, and sheep, and his tent, and all that he had, to the valley of Achor. Joshua said, why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today. Achan's sin did not end with him. It brought death upon his family as well. Scriptures show us that sin often extends beyond the individual, reproducing itself from one generation to the next, unless the grace of God intervenes and breaks the cycle. One of the sobering realities of sin is that it rarely remains contained. It spills over and affects others. We see this pattern all around us, and it's deeply tragic to observe. Statistically, children of addicts often struggle with addiction. Those raised in violent homes are more likely to mirror that same violence in their own relationships. Children of divorce frequently face similar fractures in their own marriages. These outcomes are not inevitable, but they do reveal a hard truth. Sin has a way of spreading further than we are willing to admit. We inherit more than physical traits from those who came before us. We often inherit patterns, habits, and even forms of brokenness. Sin leaves a trail. And apart from God's grace, that trail tends to continue. That is what we see in Joshua 7. Achan may have thought his sin was private, hidden safely beneath his tent. But sin never stays buried. Its consequences reached his family and the entire nation of Israel. What he did in secret affected many others. That is what I mean when I said earlier that we do not think much about our own sin. It's nothing much, just a little sin. We think it's not that bad. It's not hurting anyone. But that is not true. Sin does hurt you. Your sin hurts your family. Your sin hurts the people around you. But more than this, your sin affects your relationship with God. At the end of our chapter, all Israel gathered together and carried out the judgment. Verse 26 says, over Achan they heaped up a large pile of rocks, which remains to this day. Then the Lord turned from his fierce anger. Therefore, that place has been called the Valley of Achor ever since. In the same way, Israel had once piled up stones to remember God's faithfulness. Remember when they crossed the Jordan River, they took some stones from the river and they piled up as a memory, right? A memorial. Because God held back the waters of the Jordan so they could cross on dry ground. And now they raise another heap of stones. But this one here in chapter 7 is different. Those earlier stones were a testimony of victory, a memorial of God's goodness and deliverance. This time, the stone stands as a warning for you and me. They are not remembering a triumph over the waters, but a tragedy in Israel's midst. What happened in Achan's sin and in his family's judgment. A place marked not by crossing into promise, but by the cost of rebellion and the seriousness of God's holiness. And so that place is called the Valley of Achor. Achor means Achan, a valley of trouble. Every Sunday, after we hear the word preached, we stop. We kneel, at least in our hearts, and we confess our sins to God as a whole. We call it the confession of sin in our liturgy. For those who grew up outside a Reformed or sleep over it, it does not tell us he came forward to confess. Remember, first the clan, then family, then man by man. He didn't step forward. He carried the hidden thing, and the whole camp suffered for it. And he said nothing. That is what unconfessed sin looks like. It waits, it hides, it lingers in the dark while others bear the cost. And all the while, the community pays for what one man refuses to bring into the light. In the Reformed Presbyterian tradition, the confession of sin is not only a ritual formality, it is a theological statement. It says several things simultaneously. We are not coming into God's presence as though we are fine. We are not. The week that preceded this hour was full of failures, omissions, half-hearted obedience, and outright sin. God's holiness has not lowered since last Sunday. The same God who expelled Achan from the camp is the God we are gathering before right now. We are not confessing because we have to earn our way in. We are confessing because we have been given the extraordinary privilege of coming in at all. And we do not want to take that lightly. The confession of sin in the liturgy is how we avoid being like Achan. It is the moment when the hidden thing is brought up into light. Not because God doesn't already know, but because we need to say it. We need to be people who do not bury things in the tent. But thanks be to God, Joshua 7 is not the end of the story. It was heavy so far, right? It's going to get lighter now. I want to talk about God, the justifier. According to the Narnian law, Edmund deserved to die for his treason. Yet Aslan stepped forward and took his place. Both men knew exactly what they were doing. They saw what glittered, and they chose it over the God they owed their allegiance to. They didn't just sin in private, they dragged others into the consequences of their treason, of their sin. And in the end, they stood under a sentence they had no power to change. That's how sin works. It promises something shiny, something satisfying, but it always leaves you guilty, exposed, and unable to fix what you have done. But here is where the stories diverge. After Edmund is rescued from the White Witch camp, there is a scene that captures me every time. Aslan takes Edmund aside. Just the two of them. No one else hears what is said. We don't hear the words. We only see Edmund's face when he returns. And we see that something has been settled between them. Edmund has been forgiven. Not excused, not minimized, forgiven by the one he betrayed. And that is where we begin to see what it means that God is not only the just, but the justifier. Romans 3:25-26 holds both truths together at full strength and without compromise. It says, God presented Christ as a sacrifice of atonement through the shedding of his blood to be received by faith. And he did this to demonstrate his righteousness, because in his forbearance he had left the sins committed beforehand unpunished. He did it to demonstrate his righteousness at the present time, so as to be just and the one who justifies those who have faith in Jesus. Christ is the reason you are not being treated like Achan was. Because when we've come face to face with the holiness of God, we do not encounter something that pushes us away from his love. We encounter the very place where his love is most clearly revealed. You do not bypass his holiness to find his love. You come to understand his love more deeply through his holiness. The clearer you see who he is in his purity and justice, the more staggering his mercy becomes. And what they see is this: the holiness of God does not cancel his love, it displays it. At the cross, God remains perfectly holy. And at the very same moment, his love is fully revealed in the salvation of sinners like us. This is not God becoming softer. It is God revealing himself fully, just, and merciful in perfect unity. And that is where every faithful reading of Joshua must eventually lead us, not merely to Achan, the traitor, but to Christ, the justifier. The king who steps in for his people, takes the judgment they deserve and declares them righteous with a righteousness they could never produce on their own. The standard that destroyed Achan is the same standard under which you stand. But someone took the hit for you. The just wrath landed on Jesus, not you. Your forgiveness was not free. It was purchased with blood. Confess now, before defeat has to expose what you have been hiding. The gospel makes confession safe, because the judgment you deserve has already fallen on Christ. There is no need to protect your sin when Christ has already borne its weight. So the call here is clear: confess and walk in holiness. And the only ground you stand on is not your strength, not your record, not your effort, but the gospel of Jesus Christ. And there is no other hope but that. On the very same day that Edmund is rescued and forgiven by Aslan, that night, Aslan goes to the stone table. He goes alone. He goes willingly. The White Witch had a legal claim on Edmund's life. The deep magic demanded it. If he's a traitor, he must be put to death by the White Witch. But Aslan offered himself in Edmund's place. An innocent life for a guilty one. But that forgiveness was never cheap. Its cost was paid out of sight, in the dark, at the stone table, by the one who loved him enough to die in his place. And that is exactly the point Lewis is pressing on us. Aslan is not a random character choice. He's intentionally meant to point beyond himself to Christ. And what he shows us is this: our forgiveness is not sentimental or effortless. It is costly. It is substitutionary. It is blood-bought. When God's Son entered this world, he did not come to minimize the law or set aside the sentence it demands. The deep magic is real. The wages of sin is death. And every one of us had run to the wrong castle. Every one of us had taken what was forbidden and buried and said nothing. But as Romans 5:8 says, but God demonstrated his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Christ came not to negotiate a lesser sentence, but to go to the stone table himself in our place. To bear the wrath that was ours. To die the death that the law demanded, so that when we were brought back into the camp, the sentence has already been carried out on him. If there is one thing I want you to leave church remembering today is this: do not be an Achan. The stone raised in Joshua 7 will not let us treat sin lightly. Achan thought his sin was hidden beneath his tent, but hidden sin never stays hidden. 36 men died. Israel fled in defeat. The whole camp suffered because one man refused to bring his sin into the light. The warning is clear: do not be Achan. Do not hide your sin. What you hide in the dark affects more people than you know. Sin spreads. Sin destroys. Sin never remains private. But Joshua 7 is not the end of the story. The same God who exposed Achan is the God who sent his Son to bear the judgment that sinners deserve. Jesus Christ took the sentence upon himself so that traitors could be forgiven. So that you, by sheer grace, through faith alone, might truly be forgiven and reconciled to him. So do not hide your sin. Do not run away from God. Do not wait for your sin to find you out. Confess it. Bring it into the light. Run to Christ. The valley of Achor, the valley of trouble, the place of Achan's judgment becomes, by the grace of God, a door of hope. Hosea 2:14-15 declares, "Therefore I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her her vineyards and will make the valley of Achor a door of hope." The place of judgment becomes a door of hope. And that door is open today. Amen.